Hi, we're coming to you from the boat. It's actually the middle of February 2024. The boat, if you don't know, is actually in our driveway at our house. The first year we had the boat is when we started doing a lot of work on it. When we had it shipped up from Maryland, it was put at our house because we live out in the country and we have quite a large driveway, and it's not a eyesore being in the city for people. So Trevor hooked up
a shore power connection to get power to the boat, and with that we could have heat and lights on in the boat and get a lot of projects done over that first winter.
Yeah, before we launched the first time. So if you've watched the first short that we put out with all those projects, most of those things were done over that first winter, and that's what we would like to make videos on documenting. So some of it will be in video format, some of it will be in pictures because we weren't really planning on doing a YouTube channel. The reason we kind of decided to do a YouTube channel was because when we were trying to look up things on renovating a power boat, there really wasn't a lot. Like, there was a lot on sailboats, sailboat retrofits, catamarans, whatever, but not a lot on redoing a power boat. So here we are. Anyway, so
one of the first projects that we ever tackled was to update the lighting in the interior of the boat to provide us better lighting for subsequent renovations, and to improve on the aesthetic of the lights in the boat.
Yeah, exactly. And it was quick, easy, and cheap. And that's what we're about on this channel, is bougie boating on a budget.
So we'll talk about the reasons why we did it, how we did it, and what products we used. Updating to LED lights, there's a few important reasons to do that, especially on a boat, and that is a lower power consumption and a lower heat generation. The halogen bulbs consume a lot of power, and although that may not be an issue when you're on shore power at the dock, when you are out and about and anchored out overnight or on long travels, you're running off of your house batteries for your boat, and you want to wear those down as minimally as possible and avoid having to run the generator. In the salon, galley, and berths are a bunch of recessed lighting fixtures. These were halogen fixtures, and although the previous owner replaced some of the halogen bulbs with LED bulbs, each of those LED bulbs were a different color temperature from different brands and did not fit the housings well. The previous fixtures were plastic, white or cream in color, but had discolored over the years from age and or from heat from the halogen bulbs. So we preferred to look for a solution that replaced the entire fixture rather than just the bulb inside. In addition to the discolorization, the housing was getting very brittle from the heat and age, and the connection where the bulb plugs in and the wires leading to the fixture were getting baked and causing high resistance, which could also be a fire hazard. Although you can replace the bulbs, as the previous owner did in some of these fixtures, we thought the preferred way was to replace the entire housing. After deciding we wanted to change the entire fixture, we had to remove the old fixture and measure the opening in the ceiling and start looking for a replacement fixture that would preferably fit the ceiling without further modification. It was a bit of a trick to figure out how to remove the old fixture, as it didn't seem to unscrew or pull away from the ceiling easily. I had to resort to prying really hard on the outer edge of the housing, and there's where I found that the outer ring bezel popped off. After that ring was removed, it exposed 3 screws. The screws themselves were quite easy to remove in the salon, galley, and berths. This is because they're screwed into a kind of a wood sub-ceiling. But in the heads where the screws and fixtures were screwed into a fiberglass liner. Inside there, those screws didn't want to come loose at all. Most of the screws in those cases, I stripped the head of the screw or sheared the screw head right off, and that required drilling out a number of screws in the two washrooms. Once a light fixture was removed from the ceiling, you could measure the opening and shop for a new light fixture that would fit that opening without further modification to the ceiling. In addition to the opening, you have to consider where the old screws were mounting that fixture into the ceiling and have a flange or your new fixture cover those up. In addition to that, the height into the ceiling has to be considered so that you can install the new fixtures and that they're not too tall for that installation location. We went shopping on Amazon to find a good deal on light fixtures, and we're able to find multiple packs of ceiling fixtures for this purpose, and that would fit the opening in the ceiling and quite reasonable price. The ones we bought, I think, were a 6-pack of lights and cost around 30 or 40 Canadian dollars. In our case, we have ceiling panels that are hanging down from the fiberglass shell of the boat, and there's only minimal height clearance there of an inch or two. Those ceiling panels are held up with brackets that are accessible through the holes for the light fixtures. So we wanted to have a light fixture in the future that you can pull back out and remove when you need to access the brackets and lower the ceiling panels for other maintenance. The fixtures we bought had spring clips that insert into the ceiling, and then once you let go of those, they fold over 90 degrees and bring the light fixture up securely to the ceiling. The benefit of these is they are easily removable if you need to get into the ceiling again for maintenance. In our case, above the ceiling panels, there's the horn on one side, which I'll have to access shortly to upgrade our air horn. And there's also access to the wiper motors for the windshield. After removing the light fixture from the ceiling, you have to disconnect the wiring. In this case, they were hardwired to the light fixture. So after turning the power off, you can just cut the wires and separate them and strip the insulation back and wire in the new light fixtures that you buy. And in our case, these were pre-wired with a pair of conductors. I added spade connectors to both the boat side wiring and the new light fixtures so that you could plug and unplug the new light fixtures at any point. Another benefit of using spade connectors is that the boat side of the wiring may have large gauge wires, whereas these new light fixtures come with very fine gauge wires. And you can mix and match the size of the connectors so that you get a good crimp connection. So I crimped on contacts here that are opposite connections, and then the mating connections on the positive and negative here. So when you do unplug it, plug it back in, you can't mix up positive and negative. So on the positive side, we have a female connector and a male on the light fixture. And then the opposite connections on the ground side. Although it is color coded for the ground in black.
All the way. Oh, we have light.
So in total we bought I think 4 packs of 6 lights and used 21 lights around the salon and galley and berths, and had 3 lights left over that we used for under cabinet lighting in the galley. Our boat is a 1998 Cruisers Yachts, and other boats from other manufacturers of the same vintage may have very similar light fixtures, but you'll need to check on your own boat to see what fixtures you have, how they install, and what replacement fixtures would work for your application.